what do we need to do to help get out of this? Well, there's a few things that we can take great solace in. The first is, which we should never, ever forget, is that we know who wins in the end. We know how this movie ends. We know how this drama of life plays out. In the end, all incarnate souls have to find their way back to God. They have to find oneness again. That little wave of divine perception that's gone out as all these souls, those waves will eventually be neutralized and come back to God. The masters tell us this, the scriptures tell us this, and we should never forget it. It's a very comforting thought. However, we also know that it can take a really long time. It can take, millions and millions of lifetimes. So we don't want to get complacent with that thought. It says, oh yeah, I'll come back there eventually. Because we should also contemplate that monotony of birth and rebirth, that anguishing monotony, that wheel of life, coming back again and again and again and again and again and again. Think about that, and that can help us stay focused on, I got to get out of this. So the next thing that's important to realize is that the energy is an important part of this. And so not all acts are created equal. I mean, not all acts give the same karma. The action may look the same, but it's the energy, both the energy and the intention behind it. So for example, the action of putting a donation in a collection plate at a Sunday service. This is a good uplifting action, right? It's something that we're giving. Well, somebody may well be sitting in the congregation and put something in the collection plate in a sense of, okay, God, I'm giving you this. You better give me some peace back. You better take care of my daughter. You better give me a better car. And that sense is tied to an ego, that agency. It is not a free action. And there's going to be some karma that accrues to that. Whereas if somebody just willingly says, I offer the fruits of my labor up to you, God, that's not a binding action. There's also the intensity with which we do things is really important. And this can be helpful because you think about it, any action that I do is going to have this repercussion, is going to come back to me. So, I'm driving in traffic and somebody cuts me off and there's this little flash of anger. They're like, oh God. And then, okay, no, I don't want to be angry. That's a being of light. I'm a being of light, no problem. So as long as you don't have too much intensity in that, it has a less of a hold on you. Whereas if you really put a lot of energy behind it and started swearing at them and went and cut them off and went back again, that would be a lot more binding action. So the amount of intensity, the amount of energy, the amount of emotion that we put into an action is going to determine how binding it is. It can work the other way too. You can, with great focus and intensity, if you said at the moment you caught yourself, person there in traffic cutting you off, said, no, that's another being of light. I am going to send light to them from my soul to their soul. I forgive them. They're having a bad day. They need this energy. I'm going to give it to them. If you do that with focus and intensity, it can neutralize and more just that one karma of you cutting them off. So there is no karma that cannot be overcome by focused willpower, by focused magnetic attention. We can strengthen our energy field by connecting with God, by meditation, by affirmation, by strong focused thought. And that strength of that energy field, the strength that we put out, can repel those past actions of karma that's coming back to us from, God knows how many lifetimes ago. It might be the right moment for that tile to fall on our head. But if we have enough of that sense of protection, of energy, of living in God's presence, then it will protect us. And we have to remember, of course, that, as it says in the Gita, to have seen action and inaction. Well, what does that mean? It means that we have to act. We can't just say, it says, see inaction in action. You can't just not act because your mind is there and that's still creating the karma, it's doing something. But what you can do is you can act with a sense of inaction, meaning that I'm not the one acting. It's God acting through me. God is the doer. It is not this ego agency that is doing this. I am just a flow in the boundless universe. I am just a free being, and it is God's energy that's coming through me. It's God's energy to action. The more you can hold on to that, the less binding that karma will be. The better, the easier it will be to get out of whatever karma you're creating from those actions. So again, seeing God as the doer. This is the whole practice of karma yoga, of we have to act, but let's not be attached to what the fruits of the action are, what's happening. Give everything back to God, even our mistakes. Even when you know you did a sinful thing, or you got angry cutting off somebody in traffic, say, God, you shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have cut him off. Give it back to him. God is that agency. And the more you can cultivate that thought, the freer we can be. Next thing we have to remember is that there's yoga. Yoga is that ancient science which works directly on that trapped energy. So it isn't just a sense of not doing wrong or just keeping the actions right. We can actually free ourselves from the karma. And this is the practice of yoga. It's the practice especially of Kriya Yoga, where we're actually moving energy in the spine that can free up those vrittis, those past vortices of karma, that can get us out of what it is that's trapping us. So practice yoga. That's meditation, all the various aspects of yoga. What we're really trying to do is to free up that energy, those past actions that are trapping us. And lastly, of course, it's offering ourselves up, offering the ego up. Kriyananda says in his commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita that the whole of the spiritual path is really an offering of the ego, a self-offering of the little self up to God, and then opening ourselves to receive the kripa, the grace that is always there, that is back. And so no matter what we've done in our past, no matter what our actions we have, what our actions we're still doing, just know that that kripa, that God's grace, it's always there. If we can tune into it, it can dissolve all past karma. It can free us. It can, in this lifetime, liberate us so we can become one again, our true home with the infinite.